Welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you here today. We are going to be talking about the mindset challenges of growing a sustainable business. So, to get started, can you just introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, I'm Caryn Gillen, and I've been a life coach 14 or 15 years. So I know a little bit about mindset. I primarily help coaches grow their businesses up, go from having a little bit of success to really creating what can be a sustainable business for them that will last and benefit them, their families, their communities, and really feel like they want business to feel for them.
That and coaching is such a big industry now, right? It seems like everyone is becoming a coach in their industry. It seems like there's new coaches popping up every day. And there's a lot of mindset things that go behind being a coach and scaling your business, right? I think a lot of times we think about the tactics of scaling a business or the finances and the profit and the marketing of a business, but we kind of sometimes forget about the mindset. And I think it's such a crucial part of growing a business. It's been a crucial part in growing my business. And I would say it's at least 40, probably more percent of growing a successful business. Would you agree with that number?
Yeah, I think it's both and. It's like when I have my mindset on the right track, everything works better. When it's off track, nothing works quite right. So the tactics are important, the strategy is important, but also it's like, who are we really being as we're delivering this, whatever the service or product or whatever is to the world? It's a big deal.
For sure. And I know you have a little bit of a background in psychology as well. So that probably comes into play a lot when you're coaching your students, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a master's in counseling psychology that I got because when I was 23 years old and decided to be a life coach, we basically didn't have any. There was like Martha Beck, I think, existed, and maybe Tony Robbins. And so I was like, you know what? This is probably going to be regulated at some time. So I better go get a degree so that I have a fallback from life coaching if I need it. I haven't needed it yet, which has been nice. But it does,
Yeah,
it benefits and impacts the work.
for sure. I think that is a huge benefit to you, I would think, anyways. So when you're thinking about like coaches and the mindset that they need to have to build a sustainable business, what do you see are like the biggest challenges that most coaches are facing?
Some of the biggest challenges are comparison and looking at all these examples that we see the outsides of and how they look great or whatever from the outside looking in, and thinking that we should have something that looks like that, or comparing that I'm not that far along, or if I'm not doing it like that, maybe I'm not doing it right. So a lot of comparison mindset stuff can come up. And an effect of that is if I'm looking externally from myself and my own business model and my own strategy, I'm going to be constantly having shiny object syndrome. I'm going to be constantly looking for the next tactic that might work or the next strategy and trying to implement those things, which means I don't feel very grounded, all over the place. Money, time, energy is going all over the place and not necessarily working for me to create a specific result, which is the thing that ends up making us feel successful. So mindset is really what can help us have the felt experience of success that we need to have in business for ourselves to be able to go at it for the long run.
Yeah, I think that's such a key thing that you just said there about going the long run. Because what is the statistic of, I think most businesses fail within the first 2 years and then the first 5 years, or I might be getting that statistic a little bit wrong. But because of that, and I think what you mentioned is a big reason, right? Of you feel that burnout or you feel like you're being torn in so many different directions that you give up, even though you had this dream and this passion to start this thing, but the burnout really hits you because of all those things you mentioned. So I think that's really huge. And comparison is a big one. I know I've battled with comparison in the past too, and I don't think you're ever over battling these mindset things. I think it's just something you continually work on. But yeah, 100%. But when it comes to the comparison, like what are like your biggest tips for people who feel like they're constantly comparing themselves to what they see on their Instagram feeds, right? Like that idealistic business owner that they think has it all.
One just practical tip is unfollow those people. Stop looking at them. Stop putting that content into your brain space. But the more lasting option would be to know where you're going. And one thing that has been more clear to me lately in talking to a bunch of coaches who are newer in business and wanting to succeed, but not necessarily wanting to get support on their strategy, is that if you don't know where you're going, and you don't know the right questions to ask, and you're not going to know what the right answers are for you. So there's a point where if you're really serious about this and you don't have a background in business or a background in some sort of business strategy, you're going to want to get an outside opinion, because otherwise you're wasting a lot of time and a lot of money, and it's really frustrating. And it's tough because if we don't meet our own needs there, that's when we lose great coaches. They go back to work, they get jobs. Like, people get out of this beautiful, whatever their art form is, and we miss out on them. So mindset to me is really important, so that we're able to stay in the game and shift the world in the way that you got into this for.
Taking it back to that why, right? Of you started this business for a reason. So let's get your mind right so you can help more people and actually accomplish that thing that you wanted to accomplish. And I think that's huge. When it comes to hiring outside help, like a business advisor or like someone like yourself for mindset work and things, for people who are just starting their businesses, I know that can seem like a big investment. And there's probably some mindset things around just even making that initial investment. So what would you say to someone in that kind of scenario?
I think it's wise to not have more than a couple teachers. So even if it's just you're watching Instagram, if you're watching Gary Vee and your favorite business coach and your favorite therapist, and you're just watching what they're all doing, don't watch anybody else. Like, really track what's happening behind the scenes. What's the advice they're actually giving me? And let your business have the chance to succeed at the things that you try. So limit your teachers, and then take time to do tests of what you're trying. Nobody knows if something works if they've only tried it once or if they've only done it for 1 month. I think a test really needs to be like 3 months long. Do it for a quarter and see. Like, I think then we have enough data. Does this work or does this not work?
Such good advice. And for everybody listening or watching this, take a second to just think about what was just said, because that shiny object syndrome that you even just talked about at the beginning of being a big mistake that people make is because of this, right? Is they don't really, they're listening to too many people and they're getting that shiny object syndrome of, well, I'm going to try this, and I'm going to try this, and I'm not going to, and I'm going to try this. And then what ends up happening is they don't have data to actually make informed, smart business decisions on. And so then they just start the cycle all over again. Yeah. And I see this happen all the time. And even people that I'm coaching on the YouTube side is they dip their toes in YouTube for a second, right? They try it for a month and they're like, oh, too hard. It didn't see results, and they bounce to something else, right? And no business strategy is going to work in that little amount of time, right? Like, you need the data to work on your side so you can actually make business decisions. But again, when you're comparing yourself and you're letting shiny object syndrome run your life, you think, oh, well, that person I saw on Instagram is doing this, so I'm going to pivot and do that instead. And I think that's really big for people listening to take your advice and either unfollow people or just stick to 1 or 2, maybe 3 mentors and just listen to only them and kind of let that play out for a bit, for sure.
Yeah, and it really is the antidote to shiny object syndrome, because if you have consciously chosen to set an intention and go with that intention for 3 months, it's really easy to ignore a lot more noise than if we're just pinging from one thing to the other.
Totally. Having a plan in place makes you feel so much more empowered because you know where you're heading, right? Instead of feeling like you have a bunch of things on your plate and you're not really sure what the end result is going to be or the end goal is going to be. When you're coaching people on these 2 things, like, what is your process to help them through that besides like the things you just mentioned, obviously?
One is just awareness that it's happening. And then it's okay, this is happening because in some way or another, you're not clearly tied enough to what your actual goal is, what you're trying to achieve, what you're testing right now, whatever the thing is. And so we need to firm that up. And that could be just like remembering what you said you were going to do, like figuring out, are there ways, can you put this on a sticky note on your computer so you remember you have a plan? And then is there a reason? Are there things coming up for you that we can coach on that are getting in the way of you sticking with the plan? So that could be like, oh, I'm having like visibility fears. I just realized I am terrified to make an offer and I don't know how to sell. And that brings up all this stuff from my childhood or whatever it is. But the beauty in sticking with something is you will see what is the work that's here for me to do. And this is how business can truly become a healing modality. Because if I stick with myself and I own what my goals are and I ride them out and get to the end dates of things and really go with what I'm doing, I'm going to come up against everything that I need to come up against to grow into the person who does those things with ease. And that means we're doing change work. It grows us to have these businesses, to put ourselves out there. It's a big deal. I think the support is key.
Oh, yeah. I completely agree. I think that entrepreneurship is the biggest self-work or growth that you could ever do in life. You become a completely different person as you're working through the obstacles of building a business or the mindset it takes to become a leader, because as a business owner, you really are a leader, right? And you have to form your mindset around that. And that's huge. And I want to touch for a second on that support that you just mentioned, because I know this can be really tricky for people at all stages of business when it comes to people not understanding what they do, especially in the online space and in the coaching space. And so maybe you find this with your clients as well, that they don't have the same support as people who are pursuing more of a traditional 9-to-5 job. So how do you kind of help people through that?
One of the things is you have to build it into your pricing structure. Like, just very tactically, if you are charging $30 an hour for what you don't actually have time or you don't have money to get yourself the support that you need or want in business. So I think it's important that our pricing reflects how we want our businesses to run. So if you're someone who always wants to have a one-on-one coach or massage every month because it makes you more present, or to do yoga weekly, then make sure that you're affording that for yourself in how you price your services, because that's a part of the company culture, even if it's a culture of one that you're building. Like, one of my top values is spaciousness. And so I, as the CEO and operator and CFO and everything in my business, I need to make sure that I build that into my schedule, my pricing, my vacation plan, how I serve my clients. Like, I like to run an 80-minute group call instead of 60 because I want everyone to get coached, and that makes me feel really spacious in how I work.
I think that it's cool that what you said there, you're really putting your CEO hat on, right? And even though we're talking about mindset, comes into literally every aspect of our business, because you're touching on being a CEO, you're touching on your marketing, you're touching on your finances, right? Making sure you have enough money to actually sustain your mission and be the CEO and be present in your business the way you want. And I think these are things that even seasoned business owners need to go back to the drawing board and look at all the time. I was literally just tax time, right? It's tax time right now. So I was literally just looking over all of my numbers and being like, man, I need to go back to the basics and relook at my profit plan and make sure that all things are aligned, right? So it's something you're continually working on. And I love that you said that build those things into your pricing. Like, even if you want a massage, which I never really thought of until you just said that. If I want that every single month, what do I have to do to make that work within my profit and my margins? So I think that's really cool. And I would never have thought about that when it comes to mindset. And so I love that you brought that up.
Yeah. I mean, it's really that, like, when we choose to go out on our own, we're actively choosing to give up a lot of the perks that employers will provide for us. And it's weird because you're in an employee mindset to go out as an owner and become owner mindset, which is a big transition. Like, it feels rocky. I get it. But to then be like, okay, I mean, one thing that most employees never think about is the loaded hourly rate. The rate it actually costs your employer to employ you. It was not the $47 an hour you got paid. It was probably double that, because they paid for your insurance, and they paid for your rent, and they paid for your internet, and they paid for your cell phone, like all the things that now you pay for as the owner. So you have to make sure that what you're charging is taking on that owner's mindset and making your corporate, quote unquote, experience the best that it can be, and really reflective of the reason you left that other job in the first place.
These are all really important things that I think a lot of people don't think about. So if you're listening to this, make sure you're writing this down. Maybe go back, rewind, re-listen to that portion, or rewind and rewatch that portion, because those are some really golden nuggets that you might not be doing in your business, and could be it's really a simple tweak to then be more profitable, feel like more of a CEO, feel more empowered in your business, have a better mindset about yourself, and not ultimately lead to burnout in your business, which can happen.
Which is important.
Right? Super important. Yeah. And when it comes to the other side of the coin on support, how do you feel about the personal life that comes into play when running a business in terms of support and all the other things that our personal lives can do?
Well, I have this great example of, it was like August and I was inputting the elementary school calendar into my calendar so I would know when all the off days were. And I ran into my house and I was like, there are 35 work days this year that we will not have childcare, that she will not be in school, and that it will be my job to do, because he has a job where he's expected to show up 5 days a week, and I have a job that I created that's more flexible. So I think that in itself is like, it's one thing that I want to be available, but how do I actually create availability through the way that I schedule my clients, through the rates that I charge, through everything. I think there's a lot of ways that working for yourself can really throw all of your ideas of what it could have looked like right in your face.
Yeah. And I think it's a trap too. Speaking of especially people with kids or other responsibilities outside of their work, it can sometimes happen where we wanted to create this life of flexibility to be home with our kids and to do all these things. Then what ends up happening is we overbook ourselves. We don't manage our time well. And then our calendar becomes more busy than when we worked a corporate job. Yeah. And so it takes all that flexibility away. And sometimes I think there's some guilt behind that of feeling like you need to be so busy, right? There's some sort of crown that we put on with the term busy, I think anyways. And so what's like your advice for people who are in that situation when it comes to changing their mindset on that?
I think that's when it's really key to look at what your values are. Maybe you wanted to be available for family, but ultimately business is actually your favorite thing and you value the creativity your business brings. And it's okay. Like, I'm going to honor my value for creativity and commerce or whatever it is and do my work in the world. And I'm going to hire more babysitters, or I'm going to get a nanny, or I'm going to just let the people who are in the house take care of the kids who are in the house instead of myself. Or the opposite can be true. It could be that the only reason that you have a business is because you wanted to be there for everything. Then it's your job to be ruthless with your boundaries and make sure that you get what you want, because no one else is going to give it to you.
I really like that you didn't make it this is the right way to do it or this is the right way to do it. I think sometimes we feel like there's only one right way, and there isn't. Like you said, it's okay to enjoy work. It's okay to want to be in your business and hire other people to help you with, especially as women, I sometimes feel this way too, right? It's okay to hire someone to help you with the cooking and the cleaning because you want to spend more time in your business. But it's also okay to want to cook supper for your family every day and hire more things in your business. Both are okay, and it's your business. You get to choose. And I think that's also really empowering when you shift your mindset into, you don't have to be put in a box.
Yeah. Alignment is truly different for every person. Like, what works for you doesn't work for me, doesn't work for my neighbor. To be truly aligned, a lot of the time, it's pretty disruptive. It means we have firm boundaries. It means we say no to things that people think we should say yes to. It means we say yes to ourselves when people think that we should be saying yes to them. I think knowing our values so that we know, like, actually, I'm always going to do it this way, even though I know it's hard. Like, it's really helpful.
100% boundaries are very important. A very hard thing to put in place sometimes, but very important. And learning the power of no, I think, which goes hand in hand with boundaries, is also very important as you grow as a leader and a business owner. So thinking about getting started, if people are listening to this and they're like, okay, I really want to improve some of these things we talked about, I want to get my mindset right. Do you have any like tools or books or anything like that you would recommend for people?
Yeah. I have a free 30-day journey. It's a 1 question a day to get you to clarity. So if it feels like I don't know where I'm going or I'm struggling to find my why right now, I would recommend that, and I can give you the link. Another thing to do is just spend a couple minutes writing things down every day. Like, just dumping from your brain to paper with a pencil. You can do it on a napkin and throw it away. This is not like journaling for a museum in any way. This is dump it out. Don't be judgmental. Just see what's there. And then notice, okay, now that I know what's there, what can I do? What can I show up for to make things better?
Those are really simple things for people to implement now. And that's what I really like, right? Easily journal things down, grab a notebook, dump out your thoughts. And yeah, you don't have to make it this big complicated thing. It can just be something of self-reflection that you go back and look through, because I think clarity is definitely a journey. And at every stage of business, you're going to need to have some sort of new clarity. And so journaling, I think, is a really great piece of advice. Yeah.
Yeah, because really the point of coaching at all is really awareness for a person. So you can do that for yourself. And you may not be able to get yourself through a bunch of strategy, but you can definitely get yourself through to the point of having a lot of self-awareness.
For sure. So tell everyone listening, if they're like, I need help with my mindset, I need to get myself to the next level. Tell us a little bit about the offers that you have available. And I know you have a free gift for everyone. So maybe share a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I do group coaching for coaches. I do one-on-one coaching. And one of the things I've been doing lately is a strategy session with people to find out where can I get my next client. So that's really looking at, based on where I've been and what's worked, what could I go and do? And what could I be thinking about in the next 3 to 6 to 12 months? So those are super fun. But then I'm just kind of everywhere at Caryn Gillen everywhere, because I have a little bit of a different name.
Perfect. I love that. And I think that strategy call sounds amazing, because it's going to provide that clarity, right, of what is the next step for me. And so anyone who's listening, I'll make sure to leave the links to all of that below. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'll make sure to leave it in the YouTube description below as well for you. And you have a free gift as well. It's 5 ways to make coaching your marketing.
Yes. Yeah, this is my new freebie, because what I find is coaching is so invisible. People don't know what it's like. They don't know what it feels like. And coaches are great at it. They're not always the best at their marketing. So this is that tool to get you from being just a great coach to also being a great marketer, so people can really feel what it is you're up to.
Love that. Yeah. Visibility, right? That's huge. So I make sure to grab that in the description below as well. And my last question that I always like to ask my guests on my podcast is, if you had to go back to 3-year-old version of yourself, or however long ago, what's like the one piece of advice you wish you would have had?
Oh, that's a good question. 3 years ago, we were in a pandemic. Remember that?
Yeah.
I'm going to go before that. I think it would be to really focus on and run clear tests. Like what we were talking about earlier, like really decide something you're going to test and stick with it. And let the data be data, which means it's neutral. It's not about you. It's not about them. It's, hey, that thing worked or that thing didn't work. Why? And now what do I want to do to make it better moving forward?
Yeah, I love that. What a great ending to this. Don't make it personal. We make things way too personal about ourselves, and it doesn't mean anything about you personally. It's just the numbers are the numbers. So
that's right.
That's a great piece of advice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on with me today. It was a great conversation. I think there were so many great takeaways about mindset and just really becoming the leader that you want to be inside your business and making business run the way that you want it to run, whether or not other people are doing the same thing as you or not, right?